Let's start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Dakshinamurthy Stotram is a beautiful work of Adi Shankaracharya explaining the highest Vedantic truth in 10 beautiful verses. We have seen the first 3 verses. We are discussing the 4th verse. In all this, we must remember that what is being discussed here is about ourselves. These mantras are used, they are the sadhanas, they are the instruments, they are the means revealing the truth about ourselves, the core of our own personality. So when we listen to these verses, we should try to apply them and see what aspect of mine is getting revealed. Because then these verses have done their job. They give us the knowledge of a fact which we don't know. This fact may be difficult to swallow, but at the same time, we must make an attempt. When our mind goes in the direction of these verses, what happens in our intellect is it gets the strength to see what is behind the intellect. What is the power which drives our intellect? What is the power which drives this body? What is the power which drives this entire universe? That is what is being revealed. And the 4th verse is a very, very beautiful verse. And it gives us the essence of the entire Upanishadic statements. What we were seeing last week, we stopped in this particular slide. And there is a Upanishad mantra which is quoted here to explain this verse. Let me chant the verse which is under study. Nanachit ghato darastitamaha deepak prabha bhaswaram jnanam yasyutu chakshuradi karanat dwara vahi spandate janamiti tameva bhantam anubhate tat samastam jagat tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye namaha idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So this is the verse which we are studying, and what is said in this verse is that the intelligence in all of our bodies, which flashes through the eyes and the sense organs, is this consciousness. Is the life behind my body. It is the life behind this entire universe. That is what is the essence of this verse. Without this light of consciousness, none of our sense organs will be able to function. That is the beauty of this Chaitanyam principle, which is the revelation of our Upanishads about the truth about our own self. Normally, we take our body as the I factor. When I say I am eating, I am jogging, I am running, we always refer to the body, and we conduct our transactions throughout the day with our body and the sense organs and the mind. So inside this body is the sense organs, and the sense organs are controlled by the mind. The mind is the one which gets the power of this consciousness. You are listening to this talk. I am speaking. The ears are listening, but what makes this ear listen is the mind. Suppose you are thinking of something else about your office or about your house, then this talk will not be heard by you. That means it's very clear that the mind is required to hear. Similarly, the eyes. Even when we are walking on the road, many a times, if our mind is switched off to something else which we are thinking, if a friend comes in front and walks across, you will not see him because your mind is already switched off from the eyes. The eyes or the ears, they are the golakas. Behind them, there is an indriyam, which we have studied in the Tattva Bodha. These indriyams are the ones which is giving us the knowledge about forms and color through the eyes. Through the ears, we get to hear the sounds. Through the tongue, we have the different tastes. Through the nose, we can smell. So these are all the sense organs which are used by us for daily transactions. But the power behind them is one light. That light is what is being discussed in Mundaka Upanishad and also in Katha Upanishad. This mantra comes. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyutho bhanti kutoyamaknihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. What it says is, all the sense organs, they shine after you. Anubhati. Anubhati means after. Anugachati. Rama, Lakshmana, Anugachati. That means Lakshmana walks after Rama. So here what it says is that this light of consciousness is the one which shines all the time. That is my real nature. It is the nature of everyone. This light is eternal, it is immortal, it never perishes. It's always there. It's an ever-existing principle in this universe. This is what Shankaracharya wants to reveal. How does he say that? Or how does the Upanishad say this? The Upanishad is saying that the sun does not shine. Where does it not shine? It does not shine in the consciousness. That means Sun cannot reveal consciousness. Sun is an object of consciousness. The moon, the stars, the lightning, all the lights which we are seeing externally, they are all the lights which cannot reveal consciousness. What reveals consciousness is the Upanishad. None of the lights can reveal it. And this light is what? It is the knowledge principle. We all say that I think. I can think well. Somebody stands first in the class, he says, yes, he's got a good instrument. The intellect instrument in this body is shining. We are able to plan, we are able to do so many thoughts come in our mind. We can write poetry, we can paint, we can do so many things in life. But we have never asked the question, what is this factor in me which makes me do all this? And only when we come to the Upanishads, we discover this fact. And when we understand these mantras and our mind goes in this direction of thought process in our meditation, that light which my eyes cannot reveal gets revealed to us. Revealed means known to us. When we close our eyes and we meditate on the light of Atma, not as a physical light, but as the light of knowledge, then this Chaitanyam gets revealed. This is one of the best mantras I have found, which can be very useful in meditation. Many a times, seekers complain that they cannot meditate. If they understand this particular mantra, the meaning of this mantra, anyone, he be from any part of the world, if he understands this mantra, closes his eyes, thinks about this revelation in this mantra, I have no doubt that they will reach the truth principle. It's so powerful. But you must know the meaning and you must understand the depth of this mantra so that it can reveal, it is supposed to reveal the Atma. But if our intellect is clouded, then it will not reveal. So that is what now we are seeing, how to understand this particular mantra, because the same mantra, the principle behind this mantra is being used by Shankaracharya in the verse number 4. So what it says is, only in the presence of self-luminous, self-evident light of consciousness, everything in creation is known. All the knowables are known. The trees, the sounds, the music, all the things are knowable. They're all objects of knowledge. This consciousness is the light of knowledge. If this light of knowledge is not there, this entire cosmos will be dark. It will never get known at all. Neither today, neither in the past, neither in the future. That is the brilliance of this consciousness. Many scientists today have started accepting this principle. In spite of all the researches they have done, they have started looking into the Vedas and trying to see what they have discovered through science, does it match with this principle? There's a very beautiful talk I have put in my website on this particular analysis of Vedas and how they are linked to the modern physics. If you see my website, the Vedanta students website, there will be a link. You will be able to understand. There's a beautiful, you will be able to see it. It's a YouTube talk which talks about the modern science and Vedas. So the significance of that mantra is in verse number 4. One point we should always remember is, it says that this light of consciousness is self-evident. Very important fact. It is a fact to be discovered. How do I discover this? In my sleep state, in my waking state, this consciousness exists. But because there is a physical light which surrounds me of the sunlight or the moonlight or the light of or the light of lightning, I am not able to understand or realize this. So the Upanishads tell us, go beyond the waking state. Go to the dream state. Try to ask the question, yesterday I had a dream. When I got up, this dream went away. The dream was manifest for some time, it became unmanifest. It's only I know about my dream. It is a subjective dream. Others don't know. Only I know. So there is one factor in this body, which I am calling it as I. Now, if I ask this question, in this body, what was seeing the dream? There has to be something. You will say, yes, the mind. But the mind, according to Tattvabodha, is a subtle body made up of matter. It doesn't have light of its own. It cannot even exist by itself. So there is a factor which is called as the light of Atma. That light of Atma is the one which illumines my dream. The dream is made up of thoughts from the mind, impressions from the Karana Shariram, vasanas. Those vasanas, those impressions are illumined by a light. That light is called as the light of Chaitanyam or consciousness. The same thing, we call it as Atma. The same thing is called as Sat Chit Ananda. In different contexts, that light gets a different name. The light through which my sense organs work, is it the same as your sense organs, the light through which your sense organs are working? Bhagavad Gita says yes. It is one light. Chapter 13, verse 3. Kshetrajnam chapi mam viddhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. It says clearly there is one Kshetrajnaha, one Chaitanyam principle, one light in this entire universe. It is undivided, unbroken, all-pervading principle. It exists everywhere. There is no place where it is not there. At no time it was not there. Therefore, we call that consciousness principle timeless. We call it immortal. This is the light which Bhagavad Gita is revealing. So this light is common to all of us, through which the sense organs reveal the sense objects. This is, if you understand the scheme of creation with reference to this light, a lot of facts will be revealed to you. Lot of facts. Take yourself as this consciousness and see how this entire universe comes to light in the waking state. It resolves in sleep. I get a completely different world in my dream. The dream also gets resolved. But in the deep sleep state, the entire whole universe is covered like a cloth. Nothing is visible, neither my body, neither my mind, neither my sense organs, nothing is visible. But I alone am there. As this light, the same light which we are discussing in this mantra. That is my truth. That is the ultimate substratum, the adhishthanam, from which this entire cosmos is coming. We all experience this cosmos, whether you live in Africa or London or Brazil or Poland or here in Singapore or India, wherever it is. We all experience this. And then this entire universe folds back into this Chaitanya. It's a revelation. This mantra is a real revelation and a beautiful work of Shankaracharya. In order to understand this a little bit deeper, there is an example which is generally quoted. We are going to see two examples here in this verse. One is about this mirror and the reflection in a mirror and the sunlight. This is one example. We are going to see another example, which is a pot with a light is compared to the body with the five sense organs. So first, let us look at this example of sunlight and a dark room. Suppose you have a dark room in the midday sun. It's completely dark, all the windows are closed, but there is one window through a small hole where if you keep a mirror outside, a mirror can reflect the sunlight. And through that mirror, a light goes inside the room and it can reveal what is there in the room. All the things in the room are illumined. So there is an open window, small window. Through that, a small hole is there. Through that, the light may not really come. You may be able to get a small trace of light, but you won't see things which are hidden. But suppose you take a mirror, and then we may have done this type of things in our childhood, trying to flash the light into a room or into somebody else's house. So imagine that there is a dark room and there is a window which is partially shut, and through that we are sending a light reflected from a mirror, and we are able to experience the objects in the room. What Vedanta says is same thing is happening to us. The entire world or the entire cosmos is like this dark room, and our mind is like the mirror. When the mind wakes up in the morning, that light falls on this. The light is ever there, but only when the mirror called the mind wakes up, it's a condition of the mind. That light falls on the mind mirror, and the mirror of the mind then lends that light of consciousness to the five sense organs. Through the five sense organs, the beams, they go out, and then they see the world. The eyes will see the form and color, the ears will hear the sound, the birds chirping. It can, the tongue will start tasting things, like if you want to have a breakfast, you start tasting. But the light behind that is the light of the mind, and that mind also, the light is of Chaitanya. If we ask what illumines the dark room, we will say the sun illumines the dark room. This will be one answer. But sun without the mirror cannot illumine. Sun illumines the dark room through the medium of the mirror. That's the right answer. Mirror borrows the light from the sun. That is one aspect, one answer. The second answer can be the mirror illumines the dark room. But without the sun, can the mirror get the light? No. So we have to say the mirror illumines the dark room backed by sunlight. Sun lends the light to the mirror and the mirror then illumines the dark room. So there are two standpoints here. One is with reference to the mirror, another is with reference to the sun. So whenever we ask this question, does Atma illumine the world or does the mind illumine the world? We'll have the same type of answers. Atma, the light of consciousness. If the mind is not there, you will not experience the cosmos. But you exist or not? Yes. I exist exactly like I'm in sleep, but without the veiling of ignorance. In sleep, we are covered with tamas, which belongs to the Maya Shakti. This light of consciousness has got a Shakti, has got the power, which can cover the nature of consciousness. And what does the Upanishadic mantras does? It reveals, it removes that cover and it reveals the pure consciousness, which we call it as God, which we call it as Brahman, which we call it as Atma. Names are different, but this is how it gets revealed. So this Atma, the light of Atma through the mind mirror reveals this entire cosmos. At the same time, when the mind is passive in sleep, it can unroll the entire cosmos, which is experienced, and then the entire Prakriti, which we call it as the world, goes into unmanifest condition. This is the verse which is the central verse for the entire chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita. The whole chapter, Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetram, Kshetraknya, Jnanam, Jneyam, all this which we discuss in the 13th chapter is one verse, this one. So if you understand this verse from this Dakshinamurthy Stotram, you will understand many, many Upanishadic statements. So one can focus on the sun or the mirror to convey what is illumination. What is experience? We all say, I experience the world. But what is that experience is revealed in this verse. The perception of objects reminds me of the glory of the mind and the glory of Atma. In the case of the example, it is the mirror and the sun. But if you want to understand in our own self, it is the glory of that Atma. It is the glory of Parameshwara, Uttama Purusha. That is what we learnt in the chapter 15th of the Bhagavad Gita. All these are different words, but they all reveal the same. What is the proof that sun exists? Tam bhantam anu sarvam bhati. What it says is only when the sun is there, then the whole world is illumined. Similarly, when the light of Atma is there, which is ever there, then only the anubhati. Anubhati means that the whole mind, sense organs, and the world are shining because of the light of Atma. So Atma is self-evident like the sun. The mind is like the mirror. It is inert by nature. It's non-living material. The sentient material is Atma. Sentiency means the light through which the sense organs are able to function. That sentiency is given by Atma. And then the whole world is the dark room. It is dark. Why is it dark? Because it's inert. Suppose this table was there, or any object in your room is there, and you are not there. So it will remain, it's just inert. So it will be almost that nobody will even know about the existence of this table or chair or whatever is there. So unless until there is a sentiency principle in this entire cosmos, which we call it as God, which we call it as Brahman, we call in different contexts, we bring in different names to reveal that same light. So the two forms which are emphasized here is Atma, which is reflecting through the mind medium. And when the mind instrument is removed in sleep, the original consciousness continues to shine. Or if the mind moves to another body according to the law of creation, this can also happen, that the mind is in transit stage. In transit stage, what happens? This light continues, but the mind is looking for another body. Atma continues to be self-evident and illumines the blankness of the mind. Why do we say the blankness? Because without the golakams, without the body and the sense organs, this indriyam is dark. This power cannot be revealed. Therefore, what happens is, when you are moving from one body to another body, is almost like blankness, which is like our sleep state. But to a jnani who is awakened to this light of Atma, he will never look at the body or the mind or the world. He'll say, I am immortal. Because the knowledge has not only been heard through Shravanam, but it has been converted into Mananam, and it has been assimilated as the real nature in Nididhyasana. Nyaya Shastra says there are many Atmas. But Vedanta says there is only one Atma. That is the difference between other schools of thought and Vedanta. The mind is called as Pramata, the knower, when it has the light of consciousness. Once the mind becomes a Pramata, the knowing principle, it perceives the universe, backed by the Atma. Mind borrows consciousness. These are all words which we use, but in real life, we are trying to use the words to explain the phenomena of this creation. So we say it borrows consciousness like the mirror borrows the light from the sun. And this entire world is illumined, or it is revealed by that one light. So in many of these Upanishads, if this principle is not understood, you will be groping in the dark. The Upanishads will say it is all pervading. But then you will say, I am this body, how can I be all pervading? The Upanishad is not talking about your body or your mind. It is talking about the consciousness. So through Viveka Shakti, we have to separate the consciousness from the body and the mind. That is the entire purpose of this spiritual journey. We learn about our own Atma, which is the inner Antaryami principle in all of us. Whenever you're knowing any Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, it presupposes two things. Shabda means words, Sparsha means touch, Rupa means forms and colors, Rasa means the taste, Gandha means smell. Now, all these are all objects of consciousness. There is an invariable factor in all our experiences, and there is a variable factor. This invariable factor, which is always there, whether you're dreaming, whether you're sleeping, whether you're waking, whether you're seeing, whether you're hearing, this consciousness is always there. It is the same eye which is seeing. It is the same eye which is touching. It is the same eye which is smelling. It is the same eye which is hearing. So the common element amongst all these sense organs is this eye. That eye is what is called as the ahamkara, the mind. And behind the ahamkara is this sakshi. That sakshi is called as nitya aham. Nitya aham means it never goes, it is always there, it is never changing. And what is the variable? The variable factor is the ahamkara. When the ahamkara, the mind plus sense organs are woken up, then what happens is the entire pramata becomes, the knower principle is born. And then this entire knowing principle becomes unmanifest in sleep. Again, the knowing principle comes up. Again, it sees, experiences the world. When we are experiencing the world, we do so many activities. We see, we have plans. We have, we have a college program. We have a medical school. We have an engineering program. We have so many things in life. The entire life is gone through without knowing this light. And it is this light of consciousness which Shankara is talking about in this verse number 4. So there is a second example which is taken up. I'll explain the concept first. So that Atma is the light. The 5 sense organs are the apertures in the body through which we perceive the objects. Through the eye, like I said, we perceive the forms. The beam of light of consciousness goes through the eye. It reveals the objects outside. So external, internal is only with reference to the sense organs and the mind. With reference to Atma, there is no external, there is no internal. It is one light, all pervading, timeless, immortal. Similarly, if you have understood the eye, you can understand the nose, the tongue, the skin, the ears. This is our entire, this chart here represents our entire experiences throughout our life. Not one day. From birth till death, throughout our life, this is what is happening. This is what is revealed by the Upanishads. The Upanishads are trying to teach us this Atma. First, our intellect, first we hear about this Atma through these scriptures, either through Bhagavad Gita, Then we listen through the Upanishad. Then we also use the Brahma Sutras. These are three texts called as Prasthana Trayam. All of them have got only one goal: to reveal this Atma. Dakshinamurthy Stotram is also revealing the same. If you have understood this, then we will go to the example which is given here in this verse. There are five apertures which I said: Chakshu, Shrotra, Rasana, Gandha, Twak. They're all prakasha. Prakasha means illuminators. They are the secondary illuminators. The primary illuminator is the consciousness. The mind is a secondary illuminator, revealer. The sense organs are the secondary revealers of the objects of the universe. What happens in the universe is only the objects keep on changing. From birth to birth, only we experience different objects in different times. We are born in a certain family, certain situation, we experience the objects. Again, we change the body, again we experience the different object. This is how creation is. And the journey gets completed for a jiva when he retraces back all these experiences and goes backtracking into the light of consciousness. Every Rupa Jnanam reveals the dependent nature. Rupa Jnana means, I'm talking here of the form or the sound or any of the five sense organs, the objects of the five sense organs. They are revealed only dependently. Only when the mind is awake, you will experience the different sense organs and their objects. So the evidence of the form is dependent on another light. And there is another light which is called as the Jyoti, Atma Jyoti. That light is self-evident. It is independent revelation of a light which we call it as Atma. So if you have understood this principle, it is then easy to understand I as this consciousness am immortal. I as the body am mortal. I as the body am limited. I as the consciousness am limitless. The body, mind, and the world comes in time and goes off in time. Consciousness is timeless, immortal, ever existent, ever evident principle. I slowly learn to focus on this as my real nature. As the mind gradually understands this principle, assimilates this principle, clears all the doubts regarding this light, owns up this light as the self, we will see wonders happening in our life. It will be a magical transformation which will happen, and you will say, I am free. Earlier, my mind was in bondage. It thought that it is in this body and it is giving out all the thoughts. It has got thoughts of sorrow, thoughts of joy. All this is all at the mind level. And I, as a jiva, thought that I am in the body. And I have a mind. Mind is me. I am the body, body is me. That was my knowledge before Vedanta, before the study began. After the study, what happens? This light of knowledge I own as my real nature. Body becomes secondary, mind becomes secondary. In the spiritual light, the body, mind, and the world is experienced. And the experience goes away. Every day, the experience is different. It's different for different minds. So that is the depth of the meaning in this shloka. Now, let's just see the meaning of the words in the shloka. Yasya jnanam. Yasya jnanam means the light of consciousness, Atma. Bhaswaram. Bhaswaram means it illumines. Atma, the light, creates a pure, brilliant beam. How is that beam? Deepak Prabhaswaram, like the brilliance of a light lamp. And where is the Deepa kept? Where is that light kept? The light is kept Udarasthanaha, Gata Udarasthanaha. Where is this light kept? Inside a pot. Pot means what? Pot refers to the body. Like suppose you have a lamp which is covered by a dark cloth or it's covered by a vessel which is dark. Suppose the vessel has got 5 holes and you have a light inside. Now through the holes, the light, if this lamp is kept in a dark room and this lamp is lit, and through these 5 holes, the whole room can be illumined. Our body is this small lamp. And then the mind is this flicker which happens. Is the light. So when the waking state happens, this whole world, cosmos, is lit because my mind is lit and the sense organs are open. I can see this cosmos. This pot is Nana Chidraghata, pot, body with 5 apertures. The self-luminosity of the Deepa, which is the Atma light, and the non-luminous body, that means the body is inert, the body doesn't have any light. This light not only illumines the world outside, it also illumines the body itself. For example, in what light do you see this body? When you say, okay, there's a light in my room, I'm seeing this body. Suppose in the dark, in the night, you off the light. In what light do you know this body? It is through this light of Atma we know our existence. That is what is getting revealed. I am that pure consciousness. It doesn't require any light. You off all the lights in the room, in the dark room, before you sleep, and you ask this question, in what light do I know myself? There is no sunlight, there is no moonlight, there is no light of incandescent lamp. There is no light. I closed my eyes and I am thinking, who am I? There is a thought in my mind. Who am I? That thought is getting revealed in this body. What is revealing this thought? The thought is being revealed by consciousness. The consciousness is the light of all lights. It never becomes dark. There is no ignorance in consciousness. It is the knowledge principle. We experience ignorance when the mind is passive. The mind goes to sleep. We all experience ignorant state of the mind. Ignorance and knowledge belongs to the mind. not to the illuminator of the mind, which is Atma, the light of consciousness. The external world is made up of five sense objects. Lamp is not able to illumine the dark room because of the pot if it is covered. If the pot doesn't have the five holes, if it's completely covered, then you will not see the light of Atma. But does the light exist inside that covering? Yes, it exists, but then nobody can see it. So without this body, the consciousness is existing, it is there. But without this body, it cannot manifest. The body is a manifestation of consciousness. It manifests the real light of Chaitanya. And then this body can become inert, not consciousness. Consciousness is ever there. So I shift my attention from the inert body and mind and sense organs, and I claim myself to be this consciousness principle revealed by the scriptures. So that is how we understand this verse. There is no illumination without lamp. There is no illumination of the world without the apertures of sense organs. When apertures and the lamp is there, illumination is possible. The five beams are working, they are functioning. What is not within a beam is not illumined or not known. The knowingness of the body is this consciousness. Without this knowingness, the knowing principle, that is why we say it is borrowed. The body and the mind, they borrow the light of consciousness, and then we are able to see the world. So if you are sitting in a room and if we want to know what is behind a wall or a hall, we will not know because there is a medium which covers it. So what illumines is not the sense organs or the mind, but it is the light of Atma. Udara means within. Within means it is within the body. Stitaha means place. Mahadeepak Prabhas Bhaswaram. Imagine there's a huge, humongous light, all-pervading light of consciousness which exists. It exists throughout the entire cosmos. That brilliance, that is what Arjuna saw, hundreds and thousands of suns rising at one shot. The Lord showed to him his form in chapter 11 of the Gita. That brilliance is what is this light. And this is what happens every day in our sleep and every day when we get up. Tat chakshuhu adi karanat dvara bahispandate. The bright light of consciousness emerges out through the five sense organs, and then we see this world. Okay. Bahispandate means each beam falls on respective objects outside. When I say like the sunlight bathes the entire bodies and the entire world, similarly, this light of consciousness is the one which is all pervading. When I say I know a pot, I stands for this consciousness which is self-evident, which is also called as Brahman in the Upanishads. Brahman means it is the total light. That light, when it comes into my body, it is called as Sakshi or the Jiva Sakshi. That means in this one, when you take one body, it is called as the Jiva. When you look at the entire cosmos, it is called as the light of Brahman or Paramatma. It continues to be there in deep state of the mind. when the sense organs are relaxing. But the consciousness continues to exist but does not serve as an illuminator of the external world because the medium is not functioning. The mind medium is not functioning, therefore, it is not illuminating the world. It's the similar example is in the mirror also. The mind mirror, when it is removed, then the dark room becomes dark again. And the sunlight stops being an illuminator of the dark room. These are all to explain to us that this light is something which we have to meditate upon as our own real nature. The objects are dependently evident, anubhanam. They are not bhanam. What is bhanam is the light of consciousness. Anubhanam is it shines after the light of consciousness. Okay, then we go to this slide. Confusion of the is an universal phenomena, and it is due to the Maya Shakti which is there in Brahman, or the light of consciousness, which covers its own nature. That means God covers his own nature for the human beings. And God reveals his own nature through the Upanishadic words. Maya has got twofold Shakti. Maya means this ignorance principle in all of us. Ignorance. We are ignorant about this light of consciousness. This ignorance causes wheeling. Wheeling of what? Wheeling of Atma. And because we don't know this Atma, we have Vikshepaha. Vikshepaha means projection of ignorance. Like if we don't know a rope, the rope wheeling is called as Avarna Shakti. The snake delusion which we project is called as Vikshepa Shakti. So these two Shaktis are responsible for entire experiences of the universe. The Guru never directly destroys the delusion in a Sishya, in a disciple, because that it is caused by self-ignorance. So a teacher cannot directly come and say, I will show you this consciousness. What he can do is he can only remove the self-ignorance. All our learning of Vedanta is about removing our own ignorance about ourselves. Why do we say sleep state is not moksha? Why? This is a very important point we should remember. Many a times I use a statement to say what we are in our sleep is the real nature. But that particular statement, we must understand that I am using the knowledge of the scriptures and claiming my nature in my sleep as my real nature. Without the knowledge of scriptures, the sleep is just a sleep. For all of us, a sleep is what? It is just a state in which the mind is resting. That is explained by the scriptures as Tamas Shakti. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Tamas is active in sleep state. Therefore, we are ignorant about the world and about us. But through the Dakshinamurthy Stotram, through the scriptural study of Mundagopanishad, Kathopanishad, and other Bhagavad Gita verses, the intellect picks up the knowledge, and then it can understand that I am pure consciousness which exists, continues to exist in spite of the three states which come and go. In sleep state, the delusion is gone. It is only a symptomatic cure. The Vikshepa Shakti is not operating. That means my mind is not thinking in sleep. The Avarna Shakti, the covering, is operating. That means this ignorance is covering my nature. That is operating in sleep. Therefore, the disease of ignorance is there. Samadhi is also only a symptomatic cure. Because when you get up from sleep, Samadhi state, again your projections start, again you become out of control in terms of knowledge. So what is the real knowledge is this pure consciousness, the knowledge of the consciousness, and that consciousness is what reveals and it removes the self-ignorance. The pain from Samadhi state is like coming out of an AC room into a midday sun. You had a beautiful mind in Samadhi state without anything, without any experience. And when you go out, you suddenly feel the heat. That means when you come out of the Samadhi state, you feel the turbulent mind again. So Samadhi is not the real final truth. Sleep is not the truth. Vedantic knowledge is the truth. Vedanta Shravanam is the permanent cure. That is why we insist on Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana. Shravanam is the first listening to the scriptures. Then comes Mananam, removing the doubts. Because whenever we learn something, there will be doubts thrown up by the intellect. And then owning up what has been revealed to me is the final step, which takes a long time because our body, we are conditioned to think that we are the body and mind. We have to recondition, remove this ignorance part from our intellect and own up this pure light of consciousness. With this, I will close this particular topic, and then we'll move on to the next verse. The next verse is talking about the different philosophers. This is the 5th verse of the Dakshinamurthy Stotram. And in this verse, what we are going to discuss is what are the other philosophers telling us about the truth. Deham pranyapindriyam nyapichalam buddhim cha shunyam viduhu stri balyanta jadopamastwamamiti branta brisham vadinaha maya shakti vilase kalpitamaha vyamoha samharine tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So there are many other misconceptions about our nature. What are the misconceptions is very beautifully described in this 5th verse. And here there are 4 types of misconceptions which are discussed. He who removes that misconceptions. Now, how are these misconceptions formed? They are formed because of Maya Shakti. This Shakti which I was explaining to you, which belongs to that light, there is a Shakti which covers that light. That Shakti, it creates delusions in us. And what are the delusions? We will see. Women, child, blind, and idiot. I will explain these four terms to you in detail. Some consider that they are the body. This is the most common problem which we all face. This is a misconception. 99% of the seekers, they all believe that it is this body I am. And they say that that is the only reality. Then the next set of people, they think that the prana is themselves. I am breathing. Without breath, there is no life. Therefore, breath is the reality. Some people, they say body is the reality. They don't even come near the pranas. That requires a little bit more sukshma buddhi. Then some people say it is the senses. The sense organs are the reality, because it's only through the sense organs I experience the universe. Then there is another group of people who think there is a thought in the mind or the intellect which keeps on changing. That thought is the real truth behind the entire universe. There's another group which says no, shunyam. All this is all body, sense organs, prana, they are all nothing. But then they have gone and said, no, there is shunyam when in my sleep, blankness in the sleep state. That is the truth. So these realities are what we all hear that is taken as the truth. What Shankaracharya says is, the reality exposed by Dakshinamurthy is the real reality. That light of consciousness, which we discussed so beautifully in the verse number 4, that is the light of, that is the truth. Here Shankaracharya moans, he grieves over those who don't have this knowledge. What he says is, you gain this knowledge and then you see the whole life as a drama. Suppose you all understand and are able to claim that what I have learned today as this light of Atma is my real nature. In this light only I'm seeing this body, I'm experiencing this body. Through this body I conduct all my activities. But the truth of this whole is what is revealed by Dakshinamurthy as the light. If we come to know this and we live with this jnanam, we can, all the Upanishads they declare, then we can have the life of Sthita Prajna or a Jivan Mukta. We can enjoy this like a serial. Then what happens is, whatever happens in life, okay, today I had a good day, tomorrow there will be some other news coming out, I'll listen to the news. So all these experiences are just flowing and flowing and flowing. Every day new experiences are coming in. Every day there's a new, my mind dwells on those experiences. It goes through. Take it like your all experiences. They say, Shankaracharya says, you can take it like a dream. It is coming. I cannot stop the dream because this is the creation of Maya Shakti. The world is a creation of Ishvara, who has that power to project this entire universe. Why does he project this universe? Is for the journey of a jiva, to know that this jiva is not its real, this jivatvam is not the real nature, but what is behind the substratum. The lack of wisdom leads to thoughtless and thoughtful errors. Now, this thoughtful errors is called as adhyasaha. Adhyasa means misconceptions. Verse number 1, 2, 3, 4, they all discussed the nature of Atma. And in Kaivalya Upanishad, there is a beautiful mantra which says, Mayeva Sakalam Jatam, Mai Sarvam Pratishtitam, Mai Sarvam Layam Yati, Tat Brahmat Aham. If we want to understand this wonderful mantra from Kaivalya Upanishad, we must note that this light of consciousness is from where this entire Jagat comes and the entire Jagat resolves. Science believes that matter is a fundamental and consciousness is something which happens in matter. Vedanta believes that consciousness is fundamental and matter is subsidiary. In the spiritual conscious nature, this entire body mind world is seen, whereas science believes that consciousness came after the Big Bang. It is an incidental phenomena. Consciousness is an incidental phenomena. That's what science says. But Vedanta says it's completely diametrically opposite in nature. I am always there. It was there even before the Big Bang. The universe is rising and falling out of me, which is eternal consciousness. That is what this Mayeva Sakalam Jatam is revealing. The dreamer cannot affect the waker. The waker cannot affect Atma. We understand there are levels of realities. So consciousness is of a higher nature. This is what is Vedanta. Now this awareness releases me from Deha Abhimana and Samsara. This is how we present the truth. Whereas others, they reveal the truth in a different way. And when they reveal the truth, they say that this truth is Deha, means the body is the truth. And when we say this, it is called as Deha Atma Vada. Shankaracharya says that this is thoughtless people. There are people who have thought out, but they are full of confusions. Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Purva Mimamsa, Charvakas. Charvaka theory is this body is Deha. Deha is me. And what Shankaracharya says is, I am very fortunate that I have this knowledge of Dakshinamurthy Stotram. This, what is revealed to me by Lord Dakshinamurthy, I'm extremely fortunate because I don't consider myself to be the body. I am that pure light. I am immortal. That is what is the truth. So the errors can be, which is of a lay person, is without this knowledge of the scriptures. That is why we say that scriptures is extremely important as a means of knowledge. Nothing in individual is there other than the body. That is what the Charvaka says. Nothing survives death of the body. When the body dies, everything is gone. That's what Charvaka say. But what people, when people come to the Veda Purva itself, they say there is a soul which travels. So the first group is Charvakas. The second group is Pranavadas. The Pranavadi says that this physiological function is the individual. The body is representing the physiological. That means if there is no prana in the body, there will be no digestion, there will be no circulation. Therefore, what is important in this body is the prana. Therefore, I am prana. Another group says indriyas. Without the indriyams, I cannot experience anything. Therefore, indriyams are the truth. Chalam buddhi. Chalam buddhi means the flickering of consciousness in the mind, fleeting nature of consciousness. It's like the waterfall or a river which keeps on flowing continuously, or a candle lamp which is flickering all the time, but looks as if it is one flow of light. There is no continuous existence, but only a flickering nature of life. That is what Chalam Buddhi. Vijnanavadis. These people are called as Yogachara Buddha. There is one Buddhism which believes in this. Consciousness arrives and departs. Shunyam. There is another group which believes that consciousness is subject to arrival and departure, because that flickering nature of the light which comes as a thought is coming and going. What is in between them is the blankness. So blankness experienced by us as the emptiness between the two flickering thoughts, that is the real shunyam, and that shunyam is the Atma. This is how different people they experience the Atma as body, prana, indriyams, and the different aspects of experiences. What is the only permanent thing in this world is the Shunyam. That is what is the Shunyavadis. What Shankaracharya says is all these are all Brisham Vadinaha. They are all Adhyasa Vantaha. They are all superimposing thoughts on Atma. And he vehemently, intensely argues with them and says that what the scriptures declare is the truth. Kulakshaye pranashyanti kuladharma sanatana dharme nashte kulam Krishna. This verse, in the 40th verse in the first chapter, it tells us that through the instruments we get the knowledge of the different deficiencies in our mind. Stri, Bala, Andha, Jada. These are the 4 deficiencies of the intellect. This is how Shankaracharya, it's only 4 different concepts he puts and explains that these are all intellectual concepts. Stri here doesn't mean a woman, it means an intellectual concept. We will discuss this next week. I'll stop here. In case there are some questions, I will take on this, especially on the 4th verse. And we will start with this particular slide next week, and then we'll continue the study of Dakshinamurthy Stotram. There was some problem with my mouse today in the presentation, but let's see how we can continue next week. With this, I close today's session. In case you have any questions, we'll discuss them. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Do you have anybody has any questions? You can ask me now. I'll ask Shanmugam to.
Good morning, Shekharji. Sorry, good evening.
Yeah, go ahead. Go.
Yeah, so one question. So, I mean, like this fourth verse is the beautiful one because I think we can write lot of quotes actually based on the fourth verse, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the consciousness is the reality because of which you exist. And one more thing is, it's because of this consciousness you're experiencing all these things, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the question is like I don't know whether I have very half knowledge on this question. So that's why I'm just asking it from a empirical reality point of view. So Satchitananda is exist. Satchitananda is the verily thing which exists in each and everything, right? The living and non-living being, right?
Yes.
So my question is, for in a living being, okay, as we have a subtle body, we were experiencing this consciousness. We were able to experience the sentiency, right?
Yes.
But what happens if in a non-living object, like for example, say where the objects are insentient? So how can we determine the consciousness? Because sat is anyways like the object exists, right? So it's always there. But how we attribute or how we associate the chit and ananda to the non-existing being actually.
Okay. See, like we attribute consciousness to the human body with the human mind, similarly, we attribute the Sat principle, the pure existence principle, with the entire cosmos, the inert objects. Inert objects are there. Now, the isness in the objects belongs to this consciousness, Satchidananda principle. Like the consciousness in the mind, we say is the real truth behind the jiva. Similarly, existence principle is the truth behind the inert nature which we see outside. Behind the prakriti, the isness, that is the Sat principle. That means Sat Chit Ananda. Ananda is a limitless nature of this consciousness nature and existence nature. Now, all these three together is the truth. That means the pure Sat, pure Chit, and pure Ananda is the truth. It expresses, there is only one principle which expresses as consciousness in the Jiva. It expresses as the isness principle in the whole universe. So when I open my eyes and I see anything which is there, the isness belongs to the consciousness. Isness belongs to that Satchit, one entity. Let's call it as, that is why they use the word Brahman. That Sat, Chit, and Ananda together is called as Brahman. Only one entity exists, and that is all. Everything else is a superimposition on that pure nature of consciousness or existence. So,
Okay.
you understand now, right?
Yeah, understood. So the one thing is like Shekharji, so in certain insentient beings, right? So there is no medium, right? Actually, there is no medium, to reflect the consciousness, right?
In a inert object.
Inert object, yes.
Yes. You see, the inert objects don't have the mind.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Mm.
they cannot reflect the consciousness aspect, but they can reflect the existence aspect,
Sat aspect.
the Sat aspect.
Okay. As Sat is Chit and Chit is Sat, we should have to assume that Sat and Chit Ananda, exists for that insentient beings, right?
Yes, that's correct. The Sat is manifest in the inert objects. The Chit, they say, is manifest in the sentient beings. That means the mind. Wherever you see the mind, it is easy for us to understand it is consciousness.
Okay. So, okay, got it, Shekharji. And one more thing is this fifth verse, right? I think fifth verse is a beautiful way, to just, like negate all the philosophies.
Yes.
But sometimes, I do see some quotes saying that I am nothing. Okay. So when you say nothing, is that mean that it's not, it's a shunyavad, something like that? It's like
I
more
will
like an
explain this verse. I will explain this verse next week. When we
okay.
discuss the Shunyavadis, I will explain this verse. Just to put it in a short span, what I can tell you is, see, for example, in our sleep, we all experience there is nothing. There is
Okay.
blankness.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the same blankness, after meditating, some people, they have meditated, say, for 20 years.
Okay.
Okay. What they see is they see the light of thought coming, and then the thought disappears. Again, another thought comes, again, the thought disappears. In between the two thoughts, they have experienced the shunyam. The same shunyam is experienced by us in sleep state also.
Correct. Yep.
Now, there are some philosophers who say that because we experience shunyam in the sleep state, and every day morning we are waking up from that shunyam, they say shunyam is the truth. Shunyam means nothingness. Nothingness means blankness.
Yeah.
What Shankaracharya refutes there is that philosophy is wrong. Why is it wrong? Because shunya means non-existence. Blankness. Blankness means non-existence. When you say non-existence, from non-existence, how can you have something coming up?
Existence.
How can anything exist from non-existence? Therefore, he refutes this. This entire, whatever I'm trying to tell you in 2 minutes, there are 100 verses on this in Mandukya Upanishad in Vaitatya Prakarana. That this whole concept of this, that all these four concepts are discussed threadbare by Shankaracharya in two texts. One is in Mandukya Upanishad, where he says all these philosophers he takes one by one, and he goes into the depth of this Shunyavadis, and then he says, I do not accept the fact that this Shunyam, from blankness nothing can come. So what Shankaracharya's theory there is, he says something is there which is watching this blankness. Every day when we get up, we say, yes, I was aware, I went to sleep, I had a good sleep, I didn't experience anything. But to say I didn't experience anything in sleep, there has to be some I. What is that I which says I did not experience anything? Then he says that this I is the light of consciousness. It can illumine knowledge, it can illumine lack of knowledge. Ignorance
Okay.
is nothing else, nothing but lack of knowledge. Knowledge means I see the whole universe. Ignorance means there is lack of knowledge of the universe, which
So
is,
that means that, correct. In deep sleep, we are in a state of ignorance, right? Like state of ignorance and having bliss, right?
yes. When you say sleep state, the sleep state is called as tamasic state of Maya Shakti.
Okay.
But Atma is not that.
Okay.
Atma is the controller of the three Shaktis, which is Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Tamas is under the control of Atma. It is the Sakshi, it is the Atma which is existing in sleep, and that is what I'm trying to claim as my real nature.
Okay. Thank you, Shigarji.
Okay, so there is a lot of depth in this verse.
Okay. Okay.
The fourth verse is very, very deep. This one verse, if you can meditate, you will reach the ultimate. I give you guarantee there is no other verse in the entire scripture. That is why it comes in two Upanishads. It comes probably in Pradhanika Upanishad. Shama is asking, when we use the term light of consciousness, this refers to the expression of the ability to know, which is the function of the light, which is to reveal objects, or in the seeker's language, to reveal our Atman's nature. Okay. Shama, can you explain this?
Yeah. Basically, what I wanted to know is when we are using these, Shankaracharya is using these, one second. Yeah, when Bhagavan Shankaracharya is using this term of the light, and he quite repeatedly uses this, doesn't he?
Yes.
The light of Atman. And
Yes.
to me also it looks very real that, like, especially say if I'm asleep, that light of Atman is not visible to the mind, and therefore I don't know anything.
Yes.
Yeah, but the moment I am awake, that light of the consciousness suddenly tells me I am. So
Yes.
that's what I'm aware of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to know is, in this, just because we are obviously limited with words which we use for common day language,
Yeah.
when we say light, it is the idea of the light means knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah. The light means knowledge. As the light reveals objects, so does the knowledge reveal our own nature.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. So that was just really to have it as a clarification.
Yes.
That what I'm understanding
Ultimately,
is.
yeah, the Vedas have to use some words to describe that Atma consciousness principle.
Mm-hmm.
Some words have to be used.
Yeah.
And they say light because in the light of the sun, the entire world becomes illumined.
Correct. No, that was a beautiful illustration you gave.
Yes.
It's very, very clear, what is happening. The question which I have is the question about Maya. Yeah. So is Maya again to be understood in two ways? One is the Maya Shakti of the Brahman, through which has come out all this manifest world, including myself. Maya.
Yes. Through this Maya Shakti only, the body, you, me, everybody exists.
All the mountains, rivers, lakes, everything is
Maya.
Maya is that. So
Yes.
that is Maya. But also regularly in Vedanta, we keep hearing this Maya as a delusion, which is, I understand, it is the function of the mind. When the mind is deluded, it is not able to see the pure Atman.
Yes.
Then we say it is in the Maya Shakti.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just one question I have, which is, how can I, what is the part of the mind which should be called Sankalpa Shakti? You know, I know there is Kriya Shakti, there is Jnana Shakti, yeah, through which I can do activity, through which I can obtain knowledge, through the buddhi, of course. But is there something which should be called a volitional, a Jnanam Shakti? Obviously, it is a power of the Atman itself, which should help me to say, okay, now this thermostat of my mind, I will put it on Jnanam. So it actually obtains pure Jnanam, because that's what I want to see. Is there something in Vedanta where Sankalpa is described, where I can say, this is what I want to put my mind onto?
You see, what Vedanta says is the entire instrument which we call as the mind, which has got memory, it has got the ego, it has got the buddhi, it has got the emotions. All these four, you put it into one bucket.
Okay.
And we call that as and we say that it is an instrument for me. And then just drop the instrument in sleep state and take the instrument back in the waking state. The person who is taking the instrument and dropping the instrument is the ultimate Atma. The consciousness, light of consciousness, that is my real nature. But I take this instrument and I experience the world. I drop this instrument, I own my real nature. Claiming that nature as that light as me is the only way to come out of the state of the mind. You are saying how to put in which corner of the mind can I put this knowledge portion and ignorance portion? No, there is no path.
So it looks like it is the Atman itself which is seeking its own self.
Yes, it is ultimately, actually it is, that is why we say it is ignorance. You think it is the mind which is thinking that it is Atma trying to know itself. It is the mind. What is thinking now? It is the mind. It is the thought. Does Atma have a thought? No. So what is thinking? It is not the mind thing. It is not the Atma thinking, but it is the mind thinking that due to ignorance.
So the moment it exits out the mind, it is in its pure state.
Exactly.
There's nothing to it.
That is why we say that in the sleep state, I am with my own true nature, because the mind...
There is no mind.
So there are two, there are Prashna Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, these three Upanishads, there are certain sections where they describe clearly what is Atma's role in the sleep state.
Okay.
Very beautiful section, because it says that Atma exists, it's the mind gone to sleep, I am, and I know that I am in sleep, I am in my real nature, if I am taking the help of these Upanishadic mantras. Without the Upanishadic mantras, I'm just simply sleeping. I have gone into a dark room in which there is no light. That is a dark room, and everything is shut. The whole cosmos is shut for me. The cosmos is a dark room for me. That is my tamas.
I was suddenly inspired. I will look it up, which is if one is to examine the sleep status of all the deepest meditators, yes. So whether they are enlightened or not, that's a different matter. But just purely the deepest of meditators, because one would imagine that their sleep status by default should be the purest for the best quality. I'm just imagining it.
Yeah.
So I will find.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, you see, the mind can think of all this, but basically in Atma there is no gradation. Atma is pure. There is no gradation in Atma. It is one light of consciousness which is ever illumining the entire universe as per the minds which are coming up and going back. Minds are manifesting, minds are unmanifesting. It is the mind.
It's fascinating. The more one is thinking about these verses, the deeper you're getting into,
into yourself. You're getting into your own nature. That is the beauty of this.
Terrible. I don't like it. Because it's opening up so many big holes in myself. I was all right. But now I'm discovering more and more, and I think, God, what is this? I don't like this. I don't like that, So it's the self-deception.
These are all the lights. These are all the delusions of the mind, We are trying to come out of these delusions and own up our real nature, because then you will feel a lot of joy. This blankness, these delusions, the body, all these are all only thoughts in the mind, which I have entertained at different times.
Yeah, it's just a bit of an uncomfortable state where you're discovering the self-deception which your own mind is doing, and that's not very comfortable.
Yes, actually everybody is very comfortable with the self-deception.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking, God, why have I landed myself into this?
Anyway, that is how the mind matures.
Yeah.
You see, this is
No,
the
I'm happy. I'm
yeah, this
happy.
is a purity of the mind. What happens is the mind becomes more pure. It becomes purer and purer when the doubts about the mind goes away.
Yeah.
That is how the mind shines. You see, Shankaracharya's
Yeah.
was a brilliant mind. And you
Yeah.
know, it's through that brilliance he could write so many things. He could discover so many things. So you can imagine what all you will discover in life when you are this light of consciousness, because you will discover so many things, new things,
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
which you have never even dreamt about. You see, you will get faculties which you have never had before. Okay,
No,
I
I'm
think
happy.
we'll see the delusions more next week when we'll understand a little bit more depth of this. The how Shankaracharya calls them as Bala. Bala means they are childlike. You know, people who think the body is themselves, he calls them Bala. You're childlike people. If you are too caught up emotionally, then he calls them Stri. That means it's just a word he is using. You know, either people are caught in the intellectual concepts, or they're caught up in emotions, or they're caught up as the body or the prana. Some people, they just do yoga, 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 and then they feel that that is the real truth, you know. So it is not
You just given me something to think about.
it is good to do yoga, it is good to do pranayama, but it is not the end. Through that, we have to develop and become mature and grow with
Yeah.
this understanding of Atma.
Perfect.
So
Thank you.
the left, okay, somebody is asking here, similarly to the reference of I was thinking of the light, Brahman is only illuminating itself, as everything is a manifestation of Brahman and nothing else. Yes, that's a good way of putting it. That what Brahman is saying is everything is me only. I am only. I am when I am this light. What it means is the world is me. The light of consciousness is this world, but it is beyond the world also. That is how we should understand. The world is consciousness, but consciousness is not the world. Gita chapter 9, fourth and fifth verse, Mastani Sarva Bhutani, that verse. We have to keep that at the back of our mind. The same thing what is being said here, that body is consciousness, but consciousness is not the body. We must remember that. Consciousness exists independently even without the body. The whole world exists even without, the consciousness exists without the world also. World cannot stand without consciousness. It cannot be. The existence and is borrowed from that light.
Yes, Shekhaji, you're talking about the 4 sentences, the very tricky one that you were talking about previously.
The four, which one?
Tricky verses where
Yeah, that's
everything
right.
is,
Yes, that's correct.
yeah,
These are one
that's
of
what
the, yeah, that's correct. These are the tricky verses of the Bhagavad Gita, where you need to understand that consciousness is there. It is always there. Mastani sarva bhutani, that means entire world of 5 elements, entire world exists in consciousness, but consciousness is not limited to the world. Consciousness is limitless. Whenever we say limitless, it means it is timeless. That is why we say, I in my sleep state am timeless. I don't experience any time. I don't experience any space. There is no location for me when I am in sleep. But that sleep state is a tamasic state. What I have to understand from the scriptures is there is a Sakshi which is illuminating that state for me. And I am only claiming, see, nobody says I am non-existent in sleep. Everybody says I was existent and I went to sleep and I got up and I'm experiencing the world again.
Yes.
So we need to, our mind has to become subtle to understand this light of Atma. The more we understand through different verses, especially, the chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita is very, very beautiful to reveal this consciousness. There is one section there, towards the end it comes, where the Lord says, Yaha Pashyati, Yaha Pashyati. The same thing is said in Kathopanishad also, Etat Vaitat.
Yes.
The same thing has been revealed here as this fourth verse. The fourth verse is the same Etat Vaitat. All the verses in Kathopanishad, this is what Nachiketa you wanted to know. Is there something after the person leaves this body? Is there anything after that person leaves this body? Is there anything? Some say yes, there is something. Some say there is nothing. And who can answer this better than Lord Yama?
Of course.
The Lord of Death. So the 8-year-old boy is asking Lord of Death itself and say, come on, teach me, what is this death principle? And there the Lord of Death explains and says, there is Atma, there is this consciousness, there is this light, which is always there. Know that light while you're living, not after you die. When you know and you claim that light as your nature, don't see, we are all conditioned to think I was born on so and so date. Birth belongs to the body. It does not belong to the consciousness. We see through the eyes, we give birth to a baby, but that baby is not the real nature. It is only a body. It comes in, it's a formation of 5 elements, which we call it as Prakriti, which we call it as nature. And that nature disintegrates. The 5 elements disintegrate in the lower plane of our consciousness. In the lower plane, all this is happening. The body gets born, the body dies. It is the vikara. This is what is explained in the 13th chapter of the Gita. It says all these vikarams, modifications, all these are happening in the lower plane of consciousness. Like the waker and the dreamer, the consciousness is a higher state of, when you compare the waker, that Atma, that pure state is my real nature.
Right, Shekaji. But like God, Miss Sharma was saying, sometimes I'm feeling this tug of war within me. You know, I look at something and say, wow, this is beautiful. And the next minute I'm thinking, oh no, I remind myself this is only the name, you know, the rupa and the nama. So
yes,
I shouldn't feel this attraction. So I keep feeling this tug of war within me, and sometimes it's difficult to be happy.
Yes, no, but it's okay. This is what is called as.
But that is so beautiful, actually, because that's everything which really we see and we can. It's reminding us of the Brahman, the whole power, the majesty, you know. So in that respect, it's a wonderful thing to actually appreciate. You know, that all that we see, honestly, I would just think, let us not really put ourselves down to say, oh, it's only, you know, no, it is power of Brahman. Anything that is wonderful. Yeah. The skies, the mountains, the rivers, everything is so.
No, I'm talking more of, of objects, you know, like, you know, I go into a room and say, wow, this is beautiful. I want this to be my room, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Even that, really, I don't know what's wrong with that. It's so wonderful, honestly. Yeah. I just feel, yes, it's marvelous that the light itself is inspiring us to say, oh, this is so wonderful. Yeah. The talk is so good. The book is so good. Yeah, the book is so good. The talk is so good.
Yeah, we begin to appreciate the creation more and more.
Yeah.
You know, like we say, these are all the vibhutis of the Lord. These are all the
Yeah.
vibhutis of that one light.
Exactly. Exactly.
You see, it's giving you experiences of a day. It's giving me experience of a day.
Yeah.
And it's all one light under which all these experiences are coming and going. I am learning that truth, which is discovery of what a great principle it is. It has got such a lot of Shakti in it. The Maya Shakti is so beautiful. It can create the whole world in a split second. I am becoming aware of that in me, in my real nature.
Yeah.
What a difference it is, you know. I was only aware of my stupid mind and my delusions and creations, and you know, here
You
I'm
expanded.
getting exposed to some new, completely new nature, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, very good sharing these thoughts between you know, Uma and Shama and other people. Very, you see,
Yeah.
these are the verses which makes us think. You see, this is the what we call it as the growth of the mind, the nourishment of the mind, the purity of the mind. The more the mind dwells on this, we will take our life's problems much more lightly. This is what actually happens in real life. My mind gets more and more exposed to these teachings, and I look at my own small petty issues and petty problems. They become insignificant
Yeah.
because my mind is now got this strength of that higher nature,
Mhm.
which we call it as the light of consciousness. We can call it as Brahman, whatever it is. The mind gets the strength. And this study is what makes our mind stronger and stronger every day.
That's another light.
Yes,
The light of the Upanishads, the light
yes,
of the Vedas,
yes,
that's
yes.
another light. Most
That's right.
wonderful light.
Yeah, that is the only thing which can make our mind stronger and stronger. There is nothing in the world which can make the mind stronger. It will put our mind down. The
Yes.
world tends to put our mind down. You are insignificant. That's what the world teaches us.
Mm.
But the Upanishad tells us that you are not that stupid ahankara, the mind. It is you are a different nature.
Wonderful.
Okay. So
Shubharatri.
thank you and good night to
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank
It was
you.
Thank you, Shekaji. Good night.
good night. It was a very nice discussion after the class.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Shekaji. Good
Good
night.
night. Thank you.
Thank you, Chekaji.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you, Rohit. Rohit, how have you been?
So far, so good, Chekaji.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Did you enjoy today's talk?
Yes. Yes. For me, it's mostly revision because you've
Yes,
already
you have
covered
heard
this
this
before.
before.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So I'm just also reading my older notes and just enhancing them or rewriting some
No,
parts
but
of it.
this is excellent because this is really nididhyasnam for you. You see,
Yeah.
whenever you do revision of these sessions, what happens is they get more deeper into your mind.
Yeah.
You see, that this owning of this consciousness becomes more and more easier.
Yes.
Once
My notes and understanding from this is from 2018.
yeah.
From May of 2018 is very different from how I understand it now.
Yes, that is exactly what I was trying to tell you. That you see, we may have heard this before, but today the depth in which we are able to understand the same thing again is different.
Yes.
You see, that is the beauty of this mantras when we revise more and more.
Right.
Okay. Okay, Rohit. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night.